welcome to the Netflix Club, the only show where you listen to me pet a cat for 2 hours. I'm Amy.
I'm Alex.
I'm Michaela.
Welcome to the Netflix Club.
The only show where you listen to me pet a cat for 2 hours. I'm Amy.
I refuse to
One more time.
No.
Hey folks, except for what we watched for, our show, what did we watch this week?
You and I,
Yes.
Alex,
Hello.
and me, Michaela, we wrapped up Channel Zero Candle Cove.
Yeah.
The sci-fi original series, which was
Pretty good.
pretty good,
For
yeah.
like a sci-fi series,
They are making their way up in the world, I believe it.
yeah.
Like, sci-fi used to be kind of a joke, I think, as a channel. And you would only tune in if you were, into, low-budget aliens.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they're really scrapping their way into, a respectable position. As far as, horror television goes. Horror sci-fi.
Because Channel Zero was a really nice sort of blend of Twilight Zone and American Horror Story. Where it was just it was one really long Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. I can't help but feel it could have all been accomplished in one episode.
It definitely could have.
Looking back, I can't believe it spanned 6 episodes.
Yeah, their character development was pretty iffy, but
If non-existent, you mean?
Yeah, but I was really brought along by the images.
Oh, yeah.
And the show Candle Cove was fucking really good.
Really creepy.
Really creepy. And they did a really good job at making the viewer feel unsettled.
Totally. Especially, sounds.
Yeah.
If you... Oh, man. Tooth Monster? Tooth Baby.
Tooth Baby.
Tooth Baby.
And the Skin Taker.
Tooth Baby and the Skin Taker. It sounds like a jazz
Like a
group or
wrestling...
something. That's... Okay, yes. I see what you're saying. Yeah, a creature made entirely out of teeth makes some unpleasant sounds. Is what I learned. Very... lots of clicking, creaking... lots of body horror.
Yeah.
But it was good, and I'm glad I watched it.
Me too. Can't wait for season 2, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I think it's like an anthology series, right? So,
Yeah, it's gonna be different.
cool. I wonder if it'll retain its same unmemorable cast. Minus Aunt Petunia, who was great.
Yeah, she was really good.
And that other guy, who I don't know from anything, but you do.
The
main
guy from
dude.
Parks and Recreation?
There you go,
Yeah.
the one that's straight.
Yeah, he's really straight.
Can't go a single episode without talking about how straight something is.
Amy,
That's
did you
my
watch
problem.
anything this week?
We watched Kung Fu Panda,
We watched Kung Fu Panda.
which was really good.
Yeah.
We were talking about how, good of a movie that actually is. How well done it is, and, the storytelling's really good, I think. And, yeah.
It's pretty cute. It's good animation.
Yeah. It did some good stuff with, the bringing you from 2D to 3D and, opening with the dream sequence that you're not sure is, the dream sequence kind of thing. Was pretty cool. Anyway, yeah.
Right on. So, now for the stuff that we actually watched. For your viewing pleasure with your ears. What's that called? Viewing with your ears? Tasting? Healing?
Healing.
That's it. We're about to heal you. So the first movie we watched this week was No Country for Old Men, which is general feel?
Great. Solid.
Superb.
vibes.
Good vibes.
It was originally a Cormac McCarthy novel, which is unsurprising, even if you go the whole movie without knowing it. And you're like, oh, this is gritty, and men have feelings. I wonder who is responsible for this.
Cormac McCarthy is your answer.
My goodness gracious.
Yeah, let me give the quick Netflix blurb for this one. A hard luck dude finds enough money to start over, but a certain individual with a weird haircut has other plans.
Weird. Oh, that's the Courage the Cowardly Dog voice.
Sort of, yeah.
Can you do that?
Courage the Cowardly Dog Show, starring Courage the Cowardly Dog!
That's great. We should start our that should be our intro.
It's
Side
the Courage
note.
the Cowardly Dog intro?
Fuck, is that trademark?
Abandoned as a pup.
the only show where you were abandoned as a pup.
Yeah, this movie is like really good. The Coen brothers are pretty consistently like dudes who know what they're doing when they're making films.
For sure. They have a vision, and that can't be disputed.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you didn't like The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, they just like I think that the tension is set up in this movie really well.
Agreed.
Where the first time you meet Anton Sugar, the main like antagonist of this film, he already looks unsettling, and he's got this unsettling weapon that he uses, and he's on screen for 2 minutes, and he just chokes a dude out, and it's violent and it's brutal.
Oh, I thought about the scuff marks on the floor today.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking about how like dirty Goodwill is, and I was like, it's not that dirty. It's not somebody died here dirty.
Yeah, but you get that where you see him, the first thing he does, he doesn't say any words, he just kills someone, and then every other interaction he has is like, this dude's gonna do something messed up this scene. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna make me feel uncomfortable.
Go ahead.
What's up?
Who's the opening narrator for, like, in the, is it the guy who dies?
No.
I think it's
Tommy Lee Jones, the sheriff.
So he
Okay.
bookends it with his narration.
Yeah.
And closes the movie. Something you just said, Alex, what was it? That every time Mr. Anton Sugar is on the scene, you expect violence. No, you said, I don't know what he's gonna do, but I'm gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not knowing and being held in that not knowing is like the entire task of this movie, and like the way that it's unfolding narratively is it like it leaves you in the dark, but not in any unsatisfying kind of way. You just see things happen as the characters deliberate to do it, and so there's a lot of lead up and a lot of intentions held outside of your grasp, which makes it super compelling.
Yeah.
And is like the backbone of the tension in the movie is, wow, how's he gonna weasel his way out of this one?
Yeah.
For like
be
every
told.
character.
Yeah, and he just being like the anonymous pronoun.
Yeah, whichever character is on screen at this moment.
And the thing is that it's like always like the way that one person weasels their way out of this one means that all the other characters have to weasel their way out of him weaseling his way out of weaseling. You know what I'm saying?
It's just like an entire circle of weasels weaseling weasels.
Yep. Speaking of
Weasel, both a verb and a noun.
Yeah, that scene, it's like sort of iconic scene where Anton is at the gas station just buying some snacks, and the gas station attendant tries to make small talk, and he's already made a mistake. Like, he says, how's it going out there? And Anton looks at that dude like he's just broken some unspoken rule that you're not supposed to talk out loud to anybody.
Anton takes to the nth degree that I don't like small talk. You know, people are like, talk to me about dying and aliens and near-death experiences. And Anton is like the hard op. Well, no, he enforces that. It's like, oh, I'll small talk with you, but at the end, you must make a choice to live or die.
And even when he's like small talking with that gas station attendant, it becomes like very personal. It's like, oh, you own that house back there? How long? Did you marry into it? Like, those are all just like kind of stereotypical small talk questions, but he's asked them with such like an intensity that
like,
it's like
it matters
Yeah.
to like what's gonna happen to this guy,
yeah.
essentially. But it doesn't, because it's all down to the flip of a coin at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Spoilers,
and you can tell
I
like
guess,
there's deliberation in his words. You're totally right. Like, this is building to something.
Yeah.
I know there's a wrong answer.
And so does the gas station attendant. Yeah. He's scared shitless. He's like, oh,
dude,
yeah,
that's totally true. Yeah, but I think that the wrong answer was like going to work that day. It's like that was nothing could have really stopped what was going to happen there. Like, the inevitability of it all, I think, is a very like well executed. Like, there's a sense of inevitability throughout the entire movie that like, yeah, well, this guy, like, he didn't mean to get caught up in this, but he did, and like that's what's gonna happen, and now he's gotta deal with it, and like there's not gonna be any magic way out of it. Like,
The gas station dude doesn't die, though, does he?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
He calls heads on the coin toss, and then the coin is at heads, and he's like, that's your lucky coin.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just another coin, but it's not. It's lucky.
Totally. If, like, the movie is an unspooling of fate, then it gets sort of stopped in its tracks momentarily. Not to jump ahead, but jumping ahead. When Anton visits Mr. Man's wife, Carla Jean, I think is her name.
Yeah.
Carla Jean.
Carla
Hell
Jean
yeah,
Moss.
I knew it was 2 names. And she calls him out on this idea of, like, impartial fate.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein she's like, you flip the coin ultimately, like you make the illusion of choice, which I think is like a thematic underpinning of the movie.
It's like Batman.
Sure, it's just like Batman.
Like Two-Face.
I have no
Remember?
idea what the fuck you're talking about.
In The Dark Knight Rises or something. No, The Dark Knight.
Yeah, the guy who decides
Dent.
whether or not he's going to do something good or evil based on the flip of a coin.
Yeah. And it's like a trick coin to start is the only difference. So basically, this is the continuation of Two-Face's story.
That's it.
You could say.
Then we get the Josh Brolin's character, Llewellyn Moss, who gets introduced hunting, and like shows that he like knows what he's doing while hunting, and then how he sees some dude dying and begging for water, and he just steals his money and his ammo. And then, like, much later, it's like, oh, guess I should go help that guy out, the guy who's begging for water and dying.
Yeah, it's like he couldn't sleep. He was like awake in his bed, like not able to sleep. He was like, I guess I better go give him some water.
Yeah, which tells us two things about him. He is really good at self-preservation. He knows how to hunt. It's, I guess, 3 things. Good at self-preservation, knows how to hunt, and is, like, at his core, a good man. Big quotes around, like, good. Because he, like, wants to do the right thing, whether or not that's, like, the right thing is actually good or bad.
At that point, he has the case of money, right?
He has the case of money.
Here's what's fucked about that, is that it's like another illusion of choice and goodness. Like, if he decides to give the guy water, decides not to, like, his fate is the same. Like, he's still going to be pursued.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it seems like the instigating action, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
Taking the money was.
Yeah. Exactly. He'd already made a choice, but he didn't know it.
Yeah, I really like that too. How it seems like, oh, this is where this is like where he gets into shit. His goodness gets him into shit, because that's when some other dudes notice his truck and start to chase him and shoot him. But then another like 5 or 10 minutes later, we find out there's a tracker in the case, and they can hunt him down anyways.
It's interesting because like him going back to the site probably speeds up the investigation, or like the search for the tracker. Mm-hmm. Like it probably leads Anton Chigurh like closer, or like to Llewellyn quicker, but it also gives Llewellyn a chance to see it coming versus like not maybe seeing it coming.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
depending on how quickly he spent the money and found that tracker, I guess. Like if we're like imagining that this is like a real world scenario where like lots of things could have happened and not just what like the writers of the script said, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And I can't even imagine what he wants with the money. Like, I don't think that is like really made clear, and like not that it necessarily needs to, because after a certain number you just like roll with it. But this dude doesn't appear to want anything more than like his truck, his cowboy boots, and his beer.
Yeah,
that's me.
Okay,
just kidding. It's not.
Yeah, we just we just get like a lot of little things. Pretty much everything that a character does is true to their character, which is like in every small thing, like how Llewellyn sits in front of his TV drinking a beer, and then Anton breaks into his house and drinks straight from a bottle of milk, and then Tommy Lee Jones, investigating the scene of the crime, drinks from a glass of milk. And they all sit in the same spot, and they all look at the TV, and it all tells you something about what they're looking for, and it also tells you something about that person and what they're sort of about.
And also,
like chaotic good, true neutral, lawful good.
I'll cut it out. Yeah, I think it's a movie about, and stop me when I start to get wrong, I think it's about men.
Hold on.
I know.
Wait.
Chasing
What?
men. Mic drop, that's all I've got to say.
That's true.
No, I think that like, I know it sounded stupid, but I did have a point to make, which is that beyond just like a plot, it's about men following in each other's footsteps and like what they believe they owe their generation as well as the generation before and after. Like men orbiting the trends of the world. They're like, there's like so much talk about like, oh, well, like we live in such a violent world and money and drugs is all that matters. But at the same time, there's, like, talks of, like, legacy. Mm-hmm. And if you can, like, change that tide, or if you're, like, sort of struggling in a futile way against, like, the evil and incompetency of men.
Yeah. Because there's the whole thing sort of at the beginning with Tommy Lee Jones' narration where he talks about all the other sheriffs in the local area and how they've been doing this for so long. And his dad was a policeman, if not a sheriff. And, like, the interesting thing, I think, in that is that none of them carried guns on them, for the most part. Which, like, especially in a place like Texas, in the West, before the year 1950, you would expect that, like, those kind of people would be carrying guns around all the time. And we just, like, get this supposed idea that it was a different time and everything is supposed to be kept like that different, better time. But then we get the line closer to the end where Tommy Lee Jones is talking to one of his old friends. I don't remember
Ellis.
Ellis. I don't remember how they...
It's his uncle.
His uncle? Really?
Yeah.
But I think Uncle Ellis said, people have always been this way. There's just different ways of doing it now. Like,
yeah.
There's no idealized version of the past. You just are forced to remember it, and that's why this is no country for old men. Because you can't do anything about this world you're in because you're still stuck 20 years back.
Damn, yeah. That's real. Like, I feel like this movie is talking a lot about, I don't know if, it, like, feels a lot like it's about, I guess, fate and, like, the path that your life takes, I guess, and, like, or that these, like, people's lives take, and, like, just how similar and unexpected, like, you couldn't have predicted that, like, or they couldn't have, like, foreseen their future in this movie, and, they couldn't have foreseen how, or, like, the old men could not have seen how things were going to change, couldn't have foreseen, like, their obsolescence, I guess. I don't know. So.
Yeah, the common idea, like, what the end, like, what this movie is about is that it's sort of, like, an extended metaphor for retirement, because Llewellyn is retired, and at the end of the movie, Tommy Lee Jones is retired, and, like, once you're retired, you're no use to the capitalist system.
Still trying to get that money, though.
But you're still trying to get money. You're still trying to figure out what you're supposed to be doing, which is another thing that makes this no country for old men.
Almost, yeah. Like, Llewellyn is almost restless. Like, it's almost you can't picture him sitting on the couch with his wife watching TV and being complacent in that. Like, or I can't anyway.
Yeah. It's like a strikingly beautiful movie.
Dude, it really is. Yeah, it did a lot of stuff really well.
For all its, like, violence and grittiness and barren desert landscapes. Like, it's very poignant. And, like, I don't know, everyone who sees it walks away knowing that, I think. And it, like, has a formula that seems pretty unusual to me where, like, the protagonist dies and the plot goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the protagonist dies. We don't even see it happen.
Yeah. Just him face down on the carpet.
Yeah. And then Act 3, we don't have the protagonist anymore. Like, that's super interesting.
And I love, oh man, boy do I love Ed Tom. I love two first names, so this was right up my alley.
Just to go back a little bit to what we were talking about with, like, they show you somebody's thought process in this movie. You don't know exactly what their end game is with that thought process, but you see the whole thing play out on screen, where like Llewellyn hides the case of money in an air vent in a motel, and Anton walks into a motel room and kills a bunch of people who are there hiding out, and then looks around at like, okay, where would I hide this thing? He looks at the obvious places, and then he looks at the air vent, and he's right, but Llewellyn's already got the case from a different room.
Yeah, it seems like move and counter move.
Yeah,
and that at some point just becomes obsolete. Like it just stops in its tracks, which is like probably thematically pretty important. Like the fact that it's like cat and mouse, and then, well, I wouldn't label either of them a cat or a mouse, but at one point,
cat
like,
and cat,
yeah, and one half of that duo dies, and so like what is upheld after that? Like where else can the movie go?
Was this guy just after the money? Like, was that his overall goal? Was he was going to kill? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he also has those fucking weird principles that, like, and like that's what makes him so terrifying. In the frame
what
of
are the
movie
principles?
It's unspoken. Like it's not. It's just that he, at one point, one character says that he operates above money or power or drugs, and like is just this like self-contained philosophical unit.
He's his own little god.
Yeah, ostensibly.
Like, in his reality, he gets.
I couldn't say how he thinks of himself,
right,
but
well.
I think the fact that you can't understand his mode of operating makes him extra terrifying.
Oh yeah, you can't reason with that.
Yeah, unstoppable force, immovable object. It's pretty heavy.
Yeah. He even there's the guy who hires Woody Harrelson to go after Anton Chigurh, and like Woody Harrelson's supposed to be like the expert on the dude, and Woody Harrelson tells Llewellyn, you can't reason with this dude. He's the one who has that whole speech of like what his principles may or may not be, and he's like, you can't reason with him. He's just gonna do what he's gonna do. And then in the next scene, Anton gets Woody Harrelson with a gun to his face, and Woody Harrelson just tries to reason with him, and it doesn't work. And then Anton goes to the guy who hires Woody Harrelson and kills him because he's screwed up the plan. Which gives some implication that Anton was even hired by the guy who hired somebody to kill Anton.
He was. Stephen Root hired Sugar and Wells, who is Woody Harrelson, and all of the Mexicans that were involved in the movie. Which is just like... And it almost doesn't quite matter, like, what those operations really are, like, what the goal is. I mean, it's drug money, which is, like, means nothing. Like,
yeah, it's just, like, that's this
money.
Movie's MacGuffin. It's what gets the plot going forward.
I love that. I'm sure it's a real thing, and I don't know about it, so now I've learned.
I could educate.
If you wanted to.
MacGuffin is a term that comes from, like, Alfred Hitchcock storytelling. It's made up, I think, by him. That just says that, like, sometimes the plot just needs an ignition. And, like, that thing that gets the plot going doesn't matter. In the movie Psycho, it's the exact same thing. The main woman character finds a case of money, and that's why she leaves town and goes to the motel in the first place. But that money has nothing to do with the plot of the movie, except for that it makes her leave. And the same thing applies to this movie, where the money isn't really that important. It's just the reason that everything else happens.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting.
And that's what a MacGuffin is.
Yeah, and totally, like, watching the way that storytelling happens in this movie is very, what's the word? Like, well-studied, like, and well-executed, I guess. Yeah. Based on what I know. I guess I didn't take... Michaela would probably know that better than me. You took the fiction writing, like...
I missed what you were saying, I'm sorry.
That the storytelling is, like, pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, like, because it operates largely on the principle of show, don't tell, which is, like... stupid and overused, but totally valid.
Dude, yeah, even like the like how Anton realizes that the money like got pushed through the vents. Like you show the tracks, like the dust tracks. You're not like
and
Anton
you
doesn't tell
extrapolate
somebody
the same way that Anton did, which is like very efficient storytelling. And like when you exposition between characters vocally, pretty much the worst way to deliver information to the viewer.
Yeah.
Just boring, yeah. Because like you've got to get like the viewer to think like the way that the character is thinking, essentially, like the point of view, the person whose point of view you're using,
and you get the satisfaction of figuring it out alongside the character, which is like, which doubles your investment in the movie. Like every time you get that like little victory, when you're like taken seriously as a viewer and your fucking intelligence isn't insulted by like spoon-fed exposition. I think that like really increases your investment.
Yeah, but also being able to like execute, like to create a storyline and like thought processes that are like clear enough and simple enough to engage the audience, like to get the audience to like perhaps reach the same conclusion as the main character, and also not make them feel like you're patronizing by like spoon feeding it. So making something like complex enough to be interesting but simple enough for like someone to figure out who's like watching the movie.
Yeah, I guess the title is taken from a Yeats poem called Sailing to... Fuck, why did I choose to say this out loud? I can't pronounce this word. Byzantium? There you go, it's a place. I know Byzantine.
Byzantium, that both sound right.
Yeah, I guess it's probably not worth mentioning, but I'm going to read it anyway. That is no country for old men, the young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations at their song. The salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fowl, commend all summer long whatever is begotten, born, and dies. Caught in that sensual music, all neglect, monuments of unaging intellect. Dang. And I guess there's a real person named Richard Gilmore. I don't know. He, like, did some analysis on how the Yeats poem is, like, suited to the themes of the Coen brothers film. And there's no link for him here on Wikipedia, so I can't click and find out who Richard Gilmore really is.
Because if you just Google Richard Gilmore, you're going to get the Gilmore Girls
lovable
character.
Old man. Yeah, what a beautiful movie. Also, like, funny. Yeah. I want to touch on that.
That's, like, one of the best things about the fucking Coen brothers.
Yeah, they've got such a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor. Like, you don't need to laugh, but you are amused.
The story that I've heard, I haven't really done any follow-up on this. I was taught it in, like, a film class a while ago. But, it's that one of them wanted to be a comedian, and the other just wanted to write these, like, more drama sort of stories, and then the one was that comedy didn't really work out for him, so they just started writing screenplays together. And so what happens is that one will write and the other will edit, and so like the serious dude will write his serious movie, and the comedy guy will come in and edit and add little flares of humor, and that's why their movies sort of fall in like sort of like really good places in terms of tone.
Yeah.
Where it's like this movie is like serious but has very good moments of like lighthearted or like comedy, and a movie like Big Lebowski, it can be like funny but like have its like serious, weird, darker moments. The same thing with Fargo. Yeah. So that movie also has its like
Fargo is like weirdly dark and funny.
Yeah, it treads that perfect black comedy line, I guess.
Yeah, it's like you almost would feel bad for laughing, but you don't, because it's not real.
Yeah, I really like this movie. I watched it in a film class that taught me how symbolism worked, and I've really liked it ever since then. So who wants to throw a number on this?
Everyone here, except for the cat. I will vote for her. I'm a little buzzed and feeling generous. So, damn. I'm going to give it... I'm like stuck between a 9 and a 10, TBH.
Wow.
I know. It's up there, though. I just, like... My dad really loves this movie, which makes me like it just a little bit more. I mean, not that it needs help. It doesn't. But, I don't know, something about, like, an old guy relating to old men makes it seem even more, like, I don't know, heartfelt and sad and noteworthy. Yeah, I should say my 10. So I'm going to give it 9 musty motel rooms out of 10.
My gut flash instinct was to go 8 out of 10. For the excellent storytelling and good setting again. Love that like desolate wasteland setting. Love the feeling of isolation. Yep.
Alex, what's your rating?
Wait, did you say a number?
8.
Oh.
That's how they began.
I thought that you were gonna like that your gut feeling was gonna change to another number. So I got lost. But anyways, that makes sense. I'm gonna hit this movie also at like 8. That air tank thing that Shigeru uses to kill people. 8 of those out of 10. Yeah, this movie's super good. And I recommend it to most people.
Yeah, I really think that most people can like understand or like at least appreciate like the tension and the action. I think that like the one place where it might falter for other people, and I just read a dude from like the New York Times was like, I didn't like how they just got rid of Josh Brolin's character, and so like if you're not willing to trust in the decision making of the movie, I could see somebody like being frustrated that it doesn't work out in like the very archetypal action narrative way where like the good guy gets the girl or the money or whatever.
But
It's
like,
also like, sorry, go ahead. You can go.
Nobody wins in this movie.
No.
Anton doesn't get the money. Josh Brolin's character dies, and Tommy Lee Jones doesn't catch anybody. He just retires. Nobody gets a happy ending.
It's like that's really what drives home the realism of the movie. Is like, well, it's not this way. Like, it's not an easy, just world. It's dusty and sad.
Mm-hmm.
This is like also a movie about white men. Like, like the only people of color are like Mexican men who like are killed for plot purposes mostly.
Yeah, they're mostly like
They're super disposable.
unimportant and disposable characters. Yeah, and they're all just like quote unquote bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right in saying that it's like a movie about white dudes because like that is considered the default, shockingly.
Yeah.
It's like when you want to tell a story about humanity, people think that you need to use like the blankest slate possible or the norm, which is not white men but somehow stand in for the everyman.
Yeah. Like if you're gonna have an existential movie, you can't throw in women, or you can't like God forbid you have a person of color in there, because like you can't have an existential movie that's
yeah, because it
representative
complicates
also.
things,
Yeah,
but it absolutely doesn't.
As if there's like some kind of ground zero for
Relatability.
existentialism. Yeah, relatability. There you go.
Yeah, but it was good.
Well, I guess this movie toes like a really nice line on like darkness, but keeping it still light enough. And on the other hand, we have Green Room, which does not do that very well at all.
Not even a little bit. What's the one sentence?
Let me give you a little Amazon description.
Please.
After witnessing a shocking crime, a young rock band is unexpectedly thrust into a life or death battle to escape the clutches of a diabolical club owner, Patrick Stewart, and his ruthless henchmen in this white knuckle thriller.
White knuckle.
I mean,
Yeah, kind of a weird thing to pick for the description, I think. Like,
Yeah, it's like not. It doesn't feel nearly as tense to me as No Country for Old Men.
It wasn't tense. I didn't feel like a lot of tension. I knew what was gonna happen. I knew like pretty much at any point like people are gonna die. It's gonna happen, and like it's gonna be someone, and I'm not like surprised that anybody died. Like I'm not surprised that anybody lived. I'm like pretty neutral about like my knuckles were never. I was never gripping anything, you know.
Yeah, I mean we get this band of like mostly pretty likable people.
Young kids.
They're touring. They're poor.
Young white kids, right? Are they all white?
They're all white. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Aaliyah.
Oh,
is
yeah.
she?
Yeah, and I mean, just that actress isn't white, so I don't want to call her white.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Fair. Yeah. So they got this band of kids, and just to get some money, they agree to do a show at this like skinhead venue.
Because they're lacking in money.
Yeah.
They made broke. Like they were supposed to play a different show, and it like fell through, so they got like $6 essentially per person.
So then they
try to recoup their losses by like talking to the dude that they're staying with, and he's like, "I'll hook you up with my cousin. It's like a place up near Portland, kind of." And like he's an okay dude, but like just like stick by him because it's a fucking shady place to be. But you will make money off of it, and like that's their main motivator. So they go, and it's like difficult to discern the genre immediately or even at all because it just seems like such a weird, unlikely, like they could have been any like plausible premise that didn't involve like young kids in a band. It just seems like kind of a throwaway. Like we need these people to have a character, and so their character is that they're friends in a band. But it doesn't seem to me to serve like a real purpose because you can get anyone like mixed up in something that they didn't mean to be.
I think that if the goal was to like tell a story about like white supremacists, then it was like a good lead into that. Like if tell a story, like have them be like the horror, then it was like a good setup. I think like it made sense to me.
It's like the same horror movie like premise with like just a tiny bit of a twist, which is that they're a band. Like all you need is a group of young kids in a van.
Yeah.
And so it almost struck me as
Scooby-Doo versus
that,
the white supremacists.
Exactly. Oh my god. And that's like the setup. It's like you just got to have some kids mixed up in something and then have them hunted down one by one.
Yeah.
And it, like...
I guess that is the formula, yeah.
It's, like, difficult even. And I think it's, like, a very difficult thing to do to have a fake band. Because you, like, are... If you're not a person who has the interests of that band, then everything you're doing seems to be, like, your idea of what a band is or what music or punk is. And so like you like pull out and it's like so it's almost laughable to some degree where you're like, okay, what are the big punk names? Misfits, Dead Kennedys, yeah, that's it, that's what we got. And like it doesn't hold any water if you like are a person who is like invested and like is an actual like musician. Like, even their original songs were hard to listen to.
Yeah.
And not just because it's, like, loud punk music. It's just that it is kind of trite and, like, and clearly make-believe. So, that was my, my issue with the band premise.
Just as somebody who doesn't know a lot about punk music but listens to other podcasts where they talk about movies, one of the dudes on Horror Show Hot Dog is super into punk music in the punk scene, and he thought that this was like a very well like capture of that sort of scene, and now like there are a lot of shitty people like skinheads who also listen to punk music.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my 2 cents to throw, I guess.
Oh, totally.
Counter, but I don't know personally.
I mean, like, I know enough to know most of what they mentioned.
Yeah.
And that's why I know that it, like, wasn't all that credible, because I shouldn't know. Like, I shouldn't be able to understand. And on, like, one hand, I thought it was totally fine, but, like, it seemed like they saved all of their jargon for the skinheads, which is super weird. Like, they almost, like, talked in a code.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that was hard to watch or care about or spend so much time with. Anyway, so this band is, like, held captive in, like, this place after witnessing a murder.
They get locked in the green room.
That's
That's, like, the premise of the movie is they get locked in the green room.
And that's what it's called, the green room. Which is just calling, okay.
Yeah, I get the same kind of feeling from this as I did when I rewatched Big Bad Wolves, where it's like this movie's so dark and like the villainy is such a weird subject matter that like when they try to make a joke about it, I like don't want to be a part of it. Like their lighthearted moments are just like almost like Whiplash, like emotional Whiplash, where it's just like, oh, I guess you're trying to be like funny or sincere. While these like Nazis are trying to kill these 4 kids and like have already been doing some nefarious shit, and like I really didn't want to be a part of like any form of jovialness, I guess, like that came from that.
Yeah.
Because they spend a lot of time on the bad guys in this movie and how some of them are just like they're scared too.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You can't humanize neo-Nazis. You can't.
Yeah.
Hard and fast rule, unacceptable. And so, like, having any moments where you're supposed to, like, understand or sympathize or care about or even feel ambivalent toward any of these villainous people were just, like, I thought it was moments wasted in the film.
Yeah.
And Patrick Stewart, what the fuck?
I know.
Like, I am so, weird. I don't understand that casting. Even a little bit. It's like, why didn't you get Bryan Cranston?
Yeah.
That's what you wanted.
That is definitely what it feels like.
So I have like a different opinion because I really liked this and I thought that it was really well done.
Go for it.
Yeah. I think that it was like when I was watching it, I like didn't sympathize with any of the it felt like the white supremacists who were like second guessing themselves were like kind of almost Deus Ex type savior methods for like to give the kids a fighting chance to get out. But it seemed like somebody really did their research on what this like terrorist group is like, and I mean, like, I don't know, I was like convinced. I was like, yeah, okay, cool, I could believe that this is like an accurate representation of like what it might be like to get to get caught in something like this, like and it like I personally never, maybe except with the blonde girl who I think was part of the group, but then her friend got stabbed. And, like, I don't know where she stands at the end of it. And also the fact that they never really, like, talked about... Oh, they did try to humanize her. They were like, oh, the people who, like, hurt me weren't exactly white. And, like, that was, like, kind of... That wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't like her insertion into the story as much. But I think that it's an important thing to be aware of, because I don't really think about how the punk scene is made up of so many like dangerous people, I guess, like and like I don't even really know what to look out for, and this movie really like showed you what to look out for. Like this movie was definitely like, this is what it's like, this is what, like, I mean, I don't know, but maybe I just wasn't educated enough. I feel like y'all are anyway. Yeah, so I liked it.
Yeah. I wouldn't take it as a handbook or anything. But if you do see a Confederate flag on the wall, it lets you know that's not a place you want to be.
Yeah.
Step one. I think I was a little unclear on, like, what you were disagreeing with. Because, like, the point that I was making is that I thought they spent, like, too much time, or, like, the time was too evenly divided between the band who was held captive and, like, the men who were making the plans. I didn't think that they could have cut all of the exposition that happened with them, where they're, like, making these dastardly moves, and just kept it to that part at the end where they're like, you were gonna make it look like it was our fault, and that would have explained everything.
Yeah.
I just, like, didn't understand why I was being made to spend time focusing on those characters.
I think I think it built the tension. I think it, like, made the monster scarier. I mean, it built, like, the
anticipation.
Yeah, I guess, like, maybe I need to go back on what I said earlier, but...
No, I just, like, wanted, to know what your point was about. Sorry for dragging this out.
Just that, like, I think the white supremacists are a pretty good monster for a horror movie.
It's because they're
essentially
monsters.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a really good job showing you what the monster is. And I think that that's, like, that wasn't a bad thing, in my opinion. Like, doing the research and showing, like, what the monster is. Because there wasn't, like, they didn't show any violence against, like, people of color, which I think is, like, an important thing. Because, like, that would have been, like, sort of, like, shutting down... I mean, I'm white, so I guess I don't get to, like, choose what's important. But, like, they created the monster without showing you, like, exactly what this monster is, like... I don't know. But anyway... Good monster. Scary movie.
Yeah, I think that there was so much time spent with, like, the dude who, like, was trying to, like, who got them into the venue and who was, like, just sort of trying to handle things. That guy got a lot of character screen time, and the
Daniel?
dude, not Daniel.
Oh, the little dude with the peanut head.
Yeah, that guy
The
who
cousin.
was just like...
No, that was Daniel.
That was Daniel. The guy who was, like, power washing the blood while there were still two people left.
Mm-hmm.
They, like, spent a lot of time showing that guy was just sort of, like, not that bad.
Wait,
And
who's Daniel, then?
Daniel was the cousin.
Yeah.
Who is also...
Who had that nice car and the baseball bat in it that didn't make any sense to include.
The nice
And
car. The skinhead?
Yes. And he...
Oh, I thought the cousin was the manager guy.
No.
Was the owner.
No. And then they spent a lot of time with the guy who had the dogs, and the guy who, like, cared a lot about his attack dogs. And then Patrick Stewart, who cared about the fire hazard, which never played into anything.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's so
it's
interesting, because it was, like, to me, that seemed like, these people are people who you know. Like, these people love dogs. Like, these people care about their business.
Yeah.
But they also are fucking disgusting, like, dangerous people. And it's like, that makes it even more scary, is that, like, they also, like, love their dogs, and, like, the dogs love them. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
To me, anyway. Sorry, I'm not trying to, like, start a fight. But
No, definitely. That makes a lot of sense, but it just doesn't play with me. Like, that sort of thing is just like, no, I don't care.
And
like,
it seems sort of incidental. Like, I wasn't like... Yeah, like, fucking, I would have felt maybe a little bit better about having so much screen time for them if I understood a lick of what the fuck they were talking about.
Yeah, it was very
like, it was
strange.
Patrick Stewart was,
super
like, talking in
convoluted.
code.
Yeah. Like, it was just... you had to piece it together, and it wasn't fun, and it wasn't satisfactory, and it didn't, like, give you a leg up on the plot. And, like, we had to turn on the captions, and I don't think that helped, like, with my comprehension.
Yeah. What does red laces mean? Is that, like, people...
That's the extra bad Nazis.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But, like, are they drug addicts, too?
Nobody
like,
knows.
That the... Yeah, okay, so...
I think that the red laces was just, like, I mean, I am only taking this from the context of the movie. I don't know if it has a context outside of the movie, but it was just to say that these are the dudes who are going to do more killing than anybody else.
Right, yeah, they were the... Yeah.
Totally. It's like, oh, here's the fucking, like, brute squad. Like, this
Yeah.
is the real deal as far as, like, cold-blooded murder is.
I think that this movie would have been, like, a lot more interesting if it sort of, like, lived up to its name, and then once they were locked in the green room, we stayed in the green room.
Yeah.
And I feel like they just wanted to... This probably isn't true, but it sort of felt like they wanted to give a lot more screen time to Patrick Stewart because, like, oh man, we got Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. That's
Shit,
real.
you're fucking probably
That is
right. That's probably exactly why we had to, like, spend so much time with him. Because otherwise it had just been, like, this Walter White-looking motherfucker is, like, keeping us in here, and bam, we cut to the end of the movie, and we kill him. Like, spoiler, but like...
Because it's like, it would be more interesting if they have to face this weird moral dilemma of like, we don't know what's going on outside this store. We know what's going on inside the store, and some dude outside who sounds like Patrick Stewart is telling us to do things that we want to listen to him, but it sounds bad.
Yeah,
because
I agree. That would be how to ramp up the tension.
There's the good moment in this movie where they're about to like do a trade-off. They're about to hand their gun outside, and they think it's safe, but right at the last second, the one girl who's looking Amber, who's looking at the vent of the door, sees Red Lace, and then like shit gets.
She says they're going to kill.
They're gonna kill us, and so shit like goes.
No,
really
I think she
quickly.
said they're killing us, which was even better.
Yeah. From there, shit goes like really quickly, and we still don't see what's happening on the other side of the door.
Oh man,
we only see what's happening in the room, and then once all that commotion sort of calms down just a little bit, we see some shit.
Anton Yelchin, baby boy of my heart.
His
Eternal.
His hand, like, almost off.
Oh, God. Like, cut ribboned. Like,
yeah.
There are, like, 3 or 4 distinct cuts where it's, like, he can't even... It just, like, flops around on its own.
Brutal. And then we get... the other dude breaks the arm of the huge guy. That's gnarly.
I guess, like, the horror in this movie was concentrated toward the front, and then the last part was kind of, like, how are they gonna do it? Like, how are they gonna get out?
Yeah.
But then it kind of like lost its momentum once the horror sort of ended, I think. And like once they brought in the dogs, I stopped being like as scared, kind of. I think because like I was like, well, I know what the dogs are gonna do. Like, I was like scared that the dogs were gonna die, but.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it has any merit, but I liked that the feedback from the microphone was a good like deterrent.
It probably
for the dogs.
would hurt dogs because like they can't handle like super high. I don't think so.
And it definitely gets louder and higher than we can hear.
Yeah, and they like much better hearing than us. Dogs better than people.
Definitely.
So true.
The gore in this movie is superb.
Yeah.
It's really great. It's super well done. I like cringed every time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, even Tiger, my like beautiful blue-haired punk boyfriend, got his fucking throat chewed out, and it was just like so realistic, like very plausible and like just hard to look at.
I think once the band members started dying, I like lost interest a little bit more. Like it wasn't as like captivating because it was like, okay, well now I know the rules. Like,
yeah, but somebody always has to die.
Yeah,
like in a movie that has this sort of premise, like the ratio of people living to dying is always going to be skewed in that you get 1 or 2 survivors.
Yeah,
and like maybe that makes the odds even like more interesting or like raises the stakes in some way. I have no idea, but it like wasn't that tight of a movie. Like there's a lot that I could see being like edited and reeled in.
Yeah, it's true that like your movie should be accessible to most audiences, and this was not, like language wise was not super accessible.
Yeah, and
just
like
because I didn't know who was who and what was gonna happen.
Totally.
I didn't even know who the cousin was. Like, I thought it was the...
I mean, they made it pretty clear, actually.
I
forgot
that Daniel was the cousin until the movie had, like, hit credits.
Really?
Yeah, when Daniel was helping them out, I was like...
They were like, Cousin Daniel. And then he was... The only reason that I remembered him or thought that his, like, introduction was really distinct is that the first thing he does is grab the lead singer by the throat.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm Daniel. And so I didn't.
I guess like just like a lot of the skinhead dudes.
They do look a lot
really
alike.
similar. So when there was another one, I was just like, okay, here's just another one.
Yeah, I was like, the cousin couldn't be the one who blends in. Like they seem like an important link. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he was also in the car.
Yeah.
When Patrick Stewart walked up, and was like, we might need to play valet, which was just like. Totally throwaway, like most of the dialogue. I guess the only thing that made Daniel slightly more important is that when they went through his trunk, they found like a baseball bat that was supposed to be disposed of, which I realize now marked him as a traitor.
Oh.
Like he was going to like bail on them all along.
Mm-hmm.
Like his intent was like never really to like play along with this. Anyway, what a convoluted fucking plot.
Yeah.
There's just like whole portions where you're floundering to understand.
This director, I've seen one of his other films and heard about one of his others. I watched Blue Ruin, which is very good. And his other film movie is called Murder Party. And like all three of these movies, from what I can gather from what I've heard about Murder Party, is that this director likes to put people who are entirely out of their element into a situation that could easily get them killed. Like make an action movie, make a horror movie where there are people who will not survive this at all. Like, Blue Ruin is about just some guy who wants to take on a revenge sort of story, but he doesn't, like, he's doing that from the perspective of just some guy. Like, how would Steve, who lives next door, take revenge on somebody because he doesn't have military training or anything like that? And like,
everyman.
Yeah.
In the worst situation imaginable.
And like how Anton Yelchin's character is like, this is like paintball. I can apply this to the only thing that I have for reference is paintball.
God.
Which is so like low risk compared to like what they're actually doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I was not the biggest fan of those moments just because you can see how clearly they're trying to connect the dots story-wise. They're like, oh, remember when he got his face drawn on? Now he's drawing war paint. Or like, remember the story about paintball? Like, here's the continuation. Or like even the flyer on the ground near the van. Although I think that was slightly more well done. Because it's like, look how far they've come in a very short amount of time. Like, look how their reality is like brutally shifted. And so that was fine. It just seemed a little blatant.
Yeah. It was definitely doing a lot. And maybe it was doing too much. It looked good. I can say that much.
Good. It was stylistically pretty consistent.
Yeah, I really liked that hallway that they kept like showing us. Yeah. Yeah,
that's how I felt coming out of it. It's like, all right, that was not terrible, but I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I wonder if I watched this under like a different circumstances and a different mindset. Because I was sort of prepared for something different. I forgot to mention, we were going to watch Paris, Texas this week.
Man.
But it turns out it's not on streaming, so we watched Green Room instead. So yeah, I was in a different mindset. I don't even know if I was like really in the mood to watch a movie at that moment, but we gotta. We do this, and we love it. Yeah, I just like wasn't entirely in the mindset. I wonder if I like got myself ready, sat alone in my room and watched this movie, if I would have a different experience with it. So yeah, I'm ready to throw down a number. I'm gonna give this 5 stabs to the arm out of 10.
Here.
It's got its good stuff, but I just like couldn't follow along with the sort of like weird sympathetic parts that it was trying to make me sympathize with.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it 4 pairs of scuffed Doc Martens out of 10.
And I've got 5 dead dogs out of 10.
Oh man. Yeah. Which I think is more dogs than actually appear and die in the movie. If you're a person that's concerned about dogs being hurt, there's I think like 1 or 2 that get hurt.
Also, they didn't deserve to die.
It's true, they didn't. They didn't know what the fuck they were caught up in.
Just like the kids.
Just like the kids.
And with that, we'll be back with next week's movies. And we are back with next week's movies. But before we get to that, I'd like y'all to recommend us some movies, please. Or tell us what you think of the movies that we watch. And you can do that on our Facebook, or our Tumblr, or our Twitter. You can find those all at the Netflix Club. Our Twitter is _Netflix Club. And you got plenty of ways to listen to us. We got a Podbean, we got iTunes, and we're on YouTube. So please talk to us. Share with us the movies that you'd want to watch. Tell us what you think. Did you love Green Room? Why did you love Green Room? I want to know. Are you going to love the movies that we're going to watch next week? I also want to know. And speaking of, the movies we're going to watch next week are Before Sunrise and Before Sunset. They're both available on Amazon Prime, and they're part of a trilogy. The third one, which was just made very recently, is Before Midnight. And that one we got to pay to watch, so we can't do it for the show. But the other two we do not have to pay for, so we are going to watch those ones. I've heard some good things. Been recommended by a couple people. And I think that's about it. This has been the Netflix Club, and I have been Alex.
I've been Michaela.
And I've been knitting.
See you next week.